Welcome back to this part 2 of lecture 6, and in this lecture we are going to cover one practical example of content provider. It means we will see how to implement a content provider in Android operating system or Android programming, right? So here I have created one Android application whose name is content provider. And as I said earlier, in order to create a content provider or implement a content provider, first step is you have to create an Android application, typical Android application, and then you have to create your user defined class whose name is the my content provider, or a simple any name will be there, but that class should be inherited or should be extended from the built-in content provider class of the Android operating system. This is the first step. Okay, so after creating this application, I have created one content provider class whose name is the my content provider, and this class is inherited. As you see here, this class is extended from the content provider class of the Android operating system. Another main condition for this implementation is that your user defined content provider class should be reside into the directory in which your main activity.java file resides. So look here, my main activity.java file resides into under the Java folder. There is one package folder name whose name is the com.example.del.content provider, and under this folder my main activity.java file resides here, and also my content provider class is also created in the same directory. Okay, this is the second condition for implementing a content provider class. Now one more question is that how to create this class. So steps are very simple. For that you need to select your folder of your package name, that is it is under Java folder. Then select that, then right click and select a new. From here you simply select other menu, and from other menu you have to simply select the content provider. Okay, and it will open you a new window that is for new Android component. Okay, so give here a relevant name to your content provider. For example, suppose it's my content provider 1 is the name of this content provider, and as a second step you need to specify the URI authorities, right? In theory explanation we have seen authority is one of the part of the content URI string, so that authority you need to specify here. You can specify any URL here, but it's better if you specify here the package name of your application. In this case package name of my application is com.example.del. so here I will type com.example.del.content provider. Okay, then there are two checkboxes, exported and enabled. If these two checkboxes are checked, then this content provider will be available for the other applications as well, and if these checkboxes are unchecked, then whatever data will be held by this particular content provider, that data will not be accessed by the outside Android applications. Okay, so after this just you need to click on the finish button, and it will create a content provider class for you with all 6 abstract methods. Okay, see here, this is my content provider 1 is the newly created content provider, and these are the 6 abstract methods which are overridden into this particular class, that is delete, get type, insert, on create, query and update. Okay, in this way you can create content provider, but remember this is the code which is generated by default by the Android setup. Okay, now you need to modify this code depending upon the behavior of your application. So I have already created my content provider previously in this application, so I will delete it to avoid the possible confusions. Okay, I will delete it from my application. So in this way you can create your content provider class. Now we will go into the details of each and every abstract methods of this content provider later on. Before that, we will see the user interface of this particular application. So user interface of this application is defined in the under the layout folder. Under the areas folder there is a layout folder, and under layout folder there is a activity_main.xml file. Okay, and this is the user interface of this our application for content provider. As you see here, this is the relative layout, and in this relative layout there are this is 1 2 3 4 and 5 and 6 controls are there. Okay, so out of these some of the text view and 2 are the buttons. Okay, if we see the design view of this particular application, it will see like this one. So this is the name of our application, that is title of the application, content provider in the Android, and then this is the enter name is the again text view, this and these are the text views, whereas this is the edit text and these two are the buttons. So in total we have 1 2 3 4 5 controls or UI components in our activity. Okay, and I think there is no need to go into the details of the definition in the XML layout file. So this is text view, this is its ID, then width and height parameters are there, then top margin is there. There are any number of various attributes are set for the first text view, and its text property is set to the content provider in the Android. Okay, this is the title of our application which is shown here, right? Similarly, we have another text view. It is for enter a name. It means it intimate the user to enter the name into the given edit text which is below this enter name text view, right? So if you see the definition of enter name here, this is the definition of enter name text view. As usual, it has also ID, which is in this case it is text view 2. Then width and height is set to match parent and wrap contents. Okay, so this layout underscore width value is wrap content. It specifies that if we increase the text size of this particular text property of the text view, then its height will be automatically adjusted. For example, currently the text size is given as a 25 sp. Okay, sp means scalable pixel. So if I change it to the 85 or say 65 sp, then automatically width of the text view will be adjusted to accommodate this particular height of the text view. That is the meaning of wrap content. Okay, here we have assigned the value of wrap content to the height. That is why height will be adjusted. We see the design view now. See here, enter name is large enough and its height is automatically adjusted. Okay, see this height. It is called the wrap content. So I will roll back it to the previous one, and again it will be decreased up to the height of the text property of that particular text view. The next is the edit text. This is the text box in which user will enter his or her name. As usual, its ID is a text name. Then width is set to the match parent and height is set to the wrap content, meaning is same as that of the previous one. In this case, width is set to the match parent. It indicates that whatever width of the parent in the sense, in this case the whatever activity is hosting all these UI components, that activity is called as the parent. Okay, and whatever width of the parent activity screen will be there, the width of that particular UI is set to the that of the width of its parent activity. Whenever we initialize the value of height or width to the match underscore parent value. Okay, then this is top margin is set to the 10 dp. It means from the top it will leave the 10 pixels distance, and this particular edit text is assigned or positioned below the control whose ID is text view 2 using the layout underscore below attribute. It means that text view 2 is the ID of this textbook text view whose name is the enter name. So this edit text will be shown below this particular text view, and again distance between these two controls will be 10. Here it is specified as a 10 dp. dp stands for density independent pixels. Okay, and similarly there is a button that is shown here whose name is the save data, and its ID is insert button. Its width and height is specified by these particular pixel values, and it is say position is below the text name, and text name is the property text name is the ID of this edit text. That's why it will show below this edit text, and top margin will be whatever given here. I think it is a 30 pixels. That's why there is distance between this edit text and this save data button, right? Then we have set a background of this button to this particular color which is a somewhat dark green color. That's why this button is showed as the dark green color. Then text property is saved to the save data, right? And actually save data is stored into the strings.xml file, and name of resource is the insert button text. Okay, if you see the string.xml file which resides into the values folder, right? So here @string specifies that whatever name of resource given here, it is located into the string.xml file, and name of the resource is insert button text. So if you see the contents of strings.xml, this is the string resource whose name is the insert button text, and its value is the save data. Okay, so this text will be fetched from the strings.xml file, and it will be assigned to the text property of this button. That is why here you are able to see save data as a name of this button, right? And next property is text align, which is set to the center, and another property is that layout underscore center horizontal, which is set to the true. If it is set to the true, then your button will be displayed at center location in the horizontal direction. And that is why this button is displayed at the center position in the horizontal direction, right? And text color is set to the white. That's why its text is shown as the white color. Then text size is 20 sp, and text style is the bold. Okay, there are n number of attributes we can set depending upon our requirement and depending upon our decoration of our user interface of the application. Similarly, we have the another button. Properties are same, only ID will be the another will be different. That is load button, and text property will be load data. Again, it is saved in the strings.xml file, which is here. So load button text, whose value is the load data, right? Now here for this button, one more important property is that it is called as Android : on click. Okay, I think we have seen in the earlier lectures as well, what is the meaning of this particular attribute or particular property. So whenever we define a button in the layout file, and if we set this on click attribute with some value, it specifies that whenever that particular button is clicked, it will call the method whose name is this one specified as the value of on click attribute or on click property. Okay, in this case this button is for insert, this button is for saving a data. If you see here, its text is set to the save data. Okay, insert button text, it means its value is the save data, right? From design you will be clear more. So this is the first button, and after clicking on the save button, it will call the method whose name is the on click add details, right? Similarly, for this second button whose name is load data, when user clicks on this load data, then the method which is to be called will be this one on click show details method. But after specifying the property, say on click property in layout file, it's our responsibility, or it is a developer's responsibility to implement the method with the same name as that of the specified here, and write the behavior or develop the code that reflects desired behavior after clicking on that particular button. Right, and last one is the text view, but here there is this text view is not visible because its text property is set to the blank. So if I say to triple X, then you will come will be able to see there is a triple X. It means this is another text view, and why it is given here, actually the functionality of our application is that whenever this application will be running on the device or emulator, it's user interface like this one, and user will enter some name into this particular text box or edit text and click on the save button. As soon as user clicks on the save button, then it calls the method whose name is the on click add details. Its definition will be in my activity.java file. We will see in the details in later on. Okay, so after clicking on this save button, it will call the particular method, and that particular method will create the object of content provider, and through content provider we will access database, and we will save the whatever name is entered by the user here in this particular edit text, that name will be saved into the database using content providers. Okay, after saving data to the database using content provider, if user clicks on this load button, then it will show whatever data is there on the data stored on the database, and that database records in the database will be fetched with the help of content provider, and it will be shown on the screen in the form of text view. Okay, that is why this text view is specified here. Okay, so I will delete the text, I will keep it blank, so there will be no text property in this particular user interface. Right, now we will move towards the contents of my content provider.java file, which is the first step while creating an content provider. Okay, so after creating my content provider class, which is extended or inherited from the content provider built-in class, it will automatically created 6 abstract methods, and then we have to modify that methods according to our requirements. Right, so this is the constructor of this my content provider class. There is no need to write any code into these constructors. Now here we have defined some string variables. Its type is the static final strings. It means type of this string is static and it is not going to change, that's why it is defined as a final. Okay, so first string is we have to define the authority so that the other applications can access it. That's why we have defined here static final string. This is the type of data which we are going to declare, and this is the variable name which that belongs to this string type. So provider underscore name, you can give any name here, you can give even authority or any relevant name, but here I have chosen provider underscore name is equal to, and here you have to specify the name of authority of your application. So generally whatever package name of your application is there, you have to specify that for the value of this provider underscore name string. So in my case this is the package name of my application, that's why I have given this provider name with this value. So com.example.date.content provider. Once provider name is declared, the next step is to you have to define the content URI string. Okay, so again its type is static final string, then URL. See here URL is the name of variable whose type is string, and actually we are defining the content URI. Okay, so URL is equal to, this is a static string, content colon double forward slash, then this is the concatenation of the two strings. The provider name, value of provider name is the com.example.del.content provider. Okay, so it will form the content string like, say this one, this is static string plus it will concatenate the value of this provider name, it is the actual name of the authority, and then it will add the static string which is the users. Okay, so this URL will contain value, this will be double quoted. Okay, finally when this statement will be executed, the value of your URL string will be like this one. So content colon double slash, then this is the authority name, and this is the optional path, and fourth parameter is the optional ID. But here we are not specifying the optional ID here. But remember, this URL is of type string. Okay, but we need to convert this string into the content URI format. That is why we need to convert it to the required format, which is URI type, using this one. So we will create one other variable whose name is this name is the content URI or content underscore URI, whose type will be the URI. Now URI is the class in the Android operating system, so we are creating the variable of type URI and we are converting this URL into the URI type using URI.parse function. Okay, so this parse function or parse method belongs to the URI class that converts any given string into the URI type. Okay, so in this case we are giving this string to this parse method as input, so it will convert this string into the URI type and yet it will be stored into the content underscore URI, right? And then we have defined these four string variables, three string variables and one is the integer variable. So first string variable is the ID whose value is same that of ID. Another string variable is the name whose value is name, and third integer variable is that URI code whose value is set to the 1. Okay, and another object we are creating here, that is the URI matcher. So we are creating object of declaring the object of URI matcher class, whose name is this URI matcher. Okay, purpose of declaring the URI matcher will be discussed later on in this application only. Okay, and now after all these declarations, we have also defined one more variable that is called as the say hash map. Now what is the hash map does? It is used to declare an array in the form of key value pair. For example, it is actually a template, and since it is a template, you can define array of any types. For example, here we have declared a hash map string. First argument is string, second argument is string. We can declare here integer, or we can declare here string and integer. Okay, so purpose of this hash map is that it pairs the key value pair. For example, here in user interface, here there is a text enter name, and here user will enter the name. It means this name will be called as the key, and whatever specific name entered by the user will be called as the value of that particular key. Okay, for example, here the name Sumit has entered, so it will become a name, and Sumit means value of key will be a name, and value of that key will be a Sumit. So it will be called as the key pair value. And to define such a type of arrays, this hash map array is used. Okay, in this case, both arguments are of type string. That is why we have declared here string and string, because here we are going to accept the whatever name entered by the user, and we have to make pair as this one. Okay, so this name is the key, and suppose user has entered name Sumit. Okay, so this is called as the key value pair. This is a key and this is a value. So in this hash map, the first string will store this string name, and second string will be stored the string Sumit. Similarly, if another user have entered a name as a say Suresh, okay, so it will be the another pair, key value pair. It means in this case name is a key and Suresh is the value of that key, right? So as this is array, at second position or second index, it will store this key value pair, and at first index it will store this key value pair, and this key values pair can be accessed using the index value of that particular array. Okay, in this way, this particular hash map will contain n number of key value pairs depending upon the data entered by the user. After that, we have again created some variables whose type is static. So here, to match the content URI, every time user access the table under the content provider, we need to initialize or create an object of the URI matcher class, right? So here at the declaration part, we have declared the object of URI matcher class, whose name is the small URI matcher, and here we are creating object of URI matcher using new operator, and we are passing this attribute URI matcher dot no match. Okay, similarly we are calling the add URI to access the whole table in the database to the URI matcher. So URI matcher dot add URI, and we are providing our provider name, whose value is this our package name. Okay, and then we are providing users oblique star slash. So in this case, users is the name of table in our database, and last option or parameter is called, that is the URI code. Okay, so value of URI code is initialized to 1 here, right? So there are two add URI methods which are called using the URI matcher object. So first add URI method is used to access the whole table. That's why second argument is passed at the name of table here. But it's in second case, this particular add URI is used to access a particular row of the table. That is why the second parameter is passed as the table name, then slash, then star. This is the difference between these two add URI methods. Right, now we'll see or focus upon the definitions or implementation of 6 abstract methods of this content URI class. Okay. Remember, we are in the content URI content provider class whose name is my content provider. Okay, and until now we have seen the declaration part of this particular class. Now we will move forward into the implementation details of the six abstract methods. Right, so this first function or first method is called as the query, which we have seen in the theory explanation. And query method accepts some parameters, and depending upon the parameter it fetches the desired results from the database and returns the object of cursor type. That is why its return type is a cursor, and it is actually specified which is a public, and this is name of the method, that is query, and these are the parameters that those are accepted by this query method. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 arguments are there, right, and these all arguments will be specified or provided by the class which calls this particular query method of this class. Under query method, what is given here, we are declaring the SQLite query builder class object. So SQLite query builder QB is equal to new SQLite query builder, and this class is used to form the query string or form the query which is to be executed on the particular database, right? And we are calling qb.setTables, and we are passing the value of table name. Okay, remember the value of table name is initialized here, whose name is the users. It means our database table name is the users, right? So we are specifying we were here, so we are specifying table name to the setTables method. Okay, then we are calling match function or match method of the URI matcher, right, and we are passing the URI variable, the value which will be received by this particular query method. In this particular variable we are passing that value to this match function. Okay, and there are two cases. If this value matches with the URI code whose value is 1, which we have specified at the beginning, then we are setting set projection map to the values, right? It means we are going to store the values. Now what is the values? Values is the array of type hash map which we have declared at the beginning. See here, this is the name of values whose type is the hash map array. Okay, and if value of this URI is not equal to the URI code, then it will throw this exception and it will show what your exception will be there, right? And as a next step, if sort order is equal to null or sort order is equal to blank, then sort order is equal to id. Now value of id is a string id which is specified again here at the declaration part of this particular class. So value of id is a string id, so this string id will be specified to this particular sort order. Okay, and then we are calling a query method of this query builder class. Okay, QB is the object of this query builder class. So we are calling the query method of this query builder class, and we are passing name of our database which is a DB. Okay, and value of DB is specified here. DB is the object of SQLite database, right? So we are specifying value of DB, then projection, then selection, and arguments, and then these two parameters are null, and last parameter is the sort order which we have changed here, which are we have set value of sort order to the value of id. Okay, and other variables, whatever values have been received by this particular query method from the calling class or calling function, those values are as it is specified as the argument to this query method of the query builder class. Okay, then we are calling, remember this query method of the query builder returns the object of cursor type. That's why we are receiving the return value into the variable C whose type is the cursor, right? And then we are calling set notification URI on this cursor object, and we are passing current context of this application. Okay, and we are supplying the content resolver by calling the get content resolver function with this get context class, and we are passing the URI whose value is nothing but it is full string. It is a URI of our application, which will be this string, but this string will be converted into the form of URI by using this particular parse method, right? So this was about the query method of the content provider class. Then second method which is will be there, which is called is that on create method. Okay, so whenever this method is called, then here we are getting the context of an application, then we are creating one object of the database helper class, and we are passing this content to the database helper class. Okay, and we are getting the writable database because we want to write to the database by calling get writable database method of the database helper class, and this get writable database method returns the object of type SQLite database. That's why we are reaching the value into the DB, and DB is the object of the SQLite database which are declared here. Okay, and we are here checking if DB is not equal to null, then we are returning true. It means database has been created, and if value of DB is null, then we are returning false, indicating that database is not created. There is some problem in creating a database. Okay, now next method is the insert method, and this insert method is used to insert a record into the database through the content providers, right? So this insert method of the content provider is used to insert data into the database, and this insert method accepts two parameters. One is object of URI class, and another is the object of the content values, right? So content values is class which is used to create an empty array, and it will append the values of array depending upon the insertion by the user, right. So here we are calling insert method of the database or SQL database, and we are specifying the name of table, which is table name, and then space and values. Remember, the value of URI and the content values will be provided by the calling function or calling class. So as it is, we are passing these values to this db.insert method, and these values should be inserted into the table name, whose name is specified by this table underscore name value, and value of this table underscore name is nothing, it is a users table. Here it is specified as a users. Okay, so when this db.insert function is method is executed, then it will insert these values into this table, and it will return the number of ID of a record which has been inserted into the table, right. And we need to check if that record is properly inserted or not. That is why here we are checking if row ID is greater than 0. If row ID is greater than 0, it means a record has been inserted into the database. Okay. Now after adding data into the database, your content resolver should be get notified about this particular change in the database. That is why here we are calling the with append ID of the content URIs class, and we are passing the content URI and this row ID. Okay, and here we are getting context by using get context method, and then we are getting the access to the content resolver using get content resolver, right. And when these two statements are executed, we have access to the content resolver, and then we are calling notify change on this content resolver method. Remember, there is one some specific steps in order to access the content provider. So Android application or Android activity or fragment will access the cursor object, and cursor object will access the content resolver, and content resolver access the content provider. Okay, that's why we are getting content resolver, and we are calling notify change on this content resolver, and we are passing the URI, and another parameter is a null, and then we are returning the value of this URI. Okay, see, underscore URI is nothing but it is type of the URI class, right. And whenever this insert function is executed, it returns the content URI of the inserted record. It means content URI of the record which has been inserted into the database or database table. Okay, so for now we will stop here, and in next lecture we will see the remaining abstract methods of the content provider, and then we will see the code in the main activity.java file. Then we will run the applications and observe whether it's run properly or not. So thank you for listening to this lecture.